Hey, it's Armin with Attract. At Attract Advisors, we offer accounting advisory, tax advisory, as well as financial management services. We're lucky enough to work with very many hardworking, talented entrepreneurs across many different industries. Many of these individuals are world-class in their sphere and have great stories to tell. This is our way of highlighting their accomplishments and their insights, and we hope you enjoy these conversations.
Welcome back, everybody, to our next episode of Kickin Assets. Today, I'm joined by our new friend and photographer, Jordan Hefler. Jordan, thank you for being here.
Hi, thank you for having me.
So, I am not creative. I do like style. I do appreciate art. I have a friend of mine named Chad Schoonmaker.
Yeah.
Who Chad is with Crossroads, and they do like a lot of our branding and photos for a while, and just like, so I told him that we're gonna take new headshots, but that he wasn't gonna be the one taking it. And I said, he said, well, who is it? And I said, well, it's this girl named Jordan Hefler. Like, I don't know much about her, but of course, Kimber Gill here at Attract, our director of administration, just got a new title, follows you and your brand. And so I was super excited that you were here. So thanks again for being here.
Thank you. Yeah, no, Chad is really awesome. And I've known him for a few years. And he actually texted me whenever that happened and was like, hey, so you're taking photos of like so-and-so on Monday. And I was like, my heart dropped because I was like, what are you talking about? And I looked at my calendar. I'm like, I don't have anything. What is he talking about? And he's like, well, maybe it was a different Jordan. And I was like, no. Like, I don't know what you're talking about. And Kimber had just emailed me and I just hadn't checked my email. And so I think he got it confused too. So, cause he like gave me a heart attack. I was like, what shoot do I not know about that's happening that you know about that's happening? But he's wonderful. So.
I think he told me that you might take his family pictures or maybe like...
I have before.
Yeah, I think that's what he said.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, that's the best nod, like
Yeah.
from one photographer to another. And so honestly, like when you came in, I went to go look at your stuff and you had photographed a lot of my friends like Kenny and Laura and Wynn. And then of course there was a lot of more familiar faces. And so I was happy to just be like part of your brand.
Well, thank you. And likewise, because TBH, headshots are kind of soul sucking, or they can be.
Yeah.
And no offense, your industry is not the most I don't know, exciting. It didn't sound like he was like, yeah, these accounting people. And I was like, cool. But he's like, no, I promise you they're so fun. They're different. And it was true. Like, y'all are so fun. You have such bright, colorful branding. I love orange. And the fact that Kimber was even like, we just want to do take your lead. I was like, that's so fun. It's not like LinkedIn headshots on the white background, which I can do and which people need. And I recognize there's a big need for that. But when I heard accounting headshots, I was kind of like, okay, cool, whatever. But it was so different. And I'm so glad I was able to come do that with y'all and get to know y'all.
Yeah, we've been described as like a tech company that sells accounting services.
Yeah,
and
I get that vibe here.
I think the guys at TSE told me that, 368, so that I'm again happy to be part of your brand. So take me back though, okay? So I did a little bit of research on you coming up. It looks like you've been doing this thing since 2012-ish. But kind of talk about like coming up as a kid and your eye for art and really how that kind of molded into what you're doing today.
Yeah, so I'm 33. I grew up, early 2000s, and my dad was a photographer as a hobbyist on the side. And my mom was an elementary school teacher, so she was just very crafty and creative. And so I kind of grew up just being surrounded by craft projects. I really liked art at school, but my dad always had a camera lying around. And so growing up, I would play with that and do photo shoots with my Barbies and my stuffed animals. And I really thought I wanted to go into fashion design because at the time, Project Runway was really big and America's Next Top Model. And I had plastered my walls with Vogue, photos and Teen Vogue photos. And I actually won a contest for Teen Vogue when I was 14 to go be a producer, shadow a producer on a PacSun photo shoot in Malibu. And I thought I was so cool. I was like, this is it. I want to do fashion. And then it dawned on me one day that it was the photographs of the fashion, and all the magazine photos in my room that I liked, not necessarily even the clothes so much or the styling. And so it kind of all made sense when I was about to go to college, because in high school I was playing around with my dad's camera. MySpace was big, Tumblr was big. I was I had a bootleg copy of Photoshop on my computer, and I was just making digital art and not realizing that was something you could do professionally. And so realizing kind of all at once that it was okay, I like the fashion photography. I liked the graphic design aspect of this. I liked social media was kind of starting to be a thing. I was making silly videos for YouTube, and it was all just kind of happening organically together. And realizing I can go to LSU and major in fine art, and photography was a concentration was like huge for me because I really didn't know what I wanted to do. I like sort of excelled in most things. My parents were very strict, and like I said, I have a teacher mom, so I was like kind of expected to do well in all disciplines, and I really didn't like anything but art though. So it was kind of freeing to realize, okay, wait, this is something you can major in, and like one day there's a way to make a living doing that.
And where did you grow up?
So I never know how to answer this. My parents are from Lake Charles, Westlake, Louisiana. When they got married, they moved off to Phoenix, Arizona, and lived there for 20 years. So I was born and raised there, but we would visit every summer. I had an aunt that lived in New Orleans until Katrina. My whole family was from Louisiana. But whenever I was about to start high school, they wanted to move back. So I started high school in Westlake, Louisiana, went there for 4 years, and then came to LSU and have been in Baton Rouge ever since. So pretty much exactly half of my life has been in Louisiana versus Phoenix, but we were just like a Louisiana family living in Phoenix. So it wasn't like super foreign. We'd come visit every summer. But it was still kind of culture shock moving from big city Phoenix to like very small town Westlake.
Like it's such a pivotal age too, yeah?
Yeah, but it was perfect because it was like my brother was starting middle school and I was starting high school. So it was like a clean break, and they wanted me to get tops. So that was kind of the strategy on that.
Oh, okay.
So we moved like literally right after Katrina and Rita. So everyone was like, are you on crack? Why are you moving to this small town after a major hurricane? And, you know, it worked out though. It was very small community, super fun. It was easy to get involved in pretty much anything I wanted to because the school was like 500 people tops, you know?
Yeah.
And then going to LSU, my first like gen ed class was like as big as my graduating class. And I was like, this is wild. So
you went to Westlake High School?
Also Orange.
What's that?
Also Orange.
Yeah, I knew that. When I was in college at Southeastern, we had two guys who went to Westlake. One guy's name is Ricky Irvin, and one guy's name is Tyler Stoddard.
I knew them both very well.
Those were like the craziest white boys that I have ever seen.
That is a correct statement. That's so funny that you know them.
Yeah, small world, huh?
I forgot they went off to go play there. But
so I was there with them at Southeastern, and like those guys like always had my back.
Yeah.
Like I can remember one night, you know, I'll summarize because it's not 100% appropriate, but there was like, you know, like a stupid fight like after a bar or whatever, and Ricky just knocked this dude out, and the cops didn't even go after him because like Ricky was like in the right, and they were like, just tell him he's got a nice right hook, and so like that's the thing that I'll always remember about them, because like I was kind of in the middle of the conflict that started that fight that, you know, he kind of finished. But that was the thing about Westlake boys. Like they love to
they're
fight.
rowdy and they try to catch these hands is what you'd always hear. So
yeah, small world. So Phoenix though, like I was talking about Phoenix with a friend of mine, and you know, it doesn't seem like a move that like these days people would want to make, right? Like moving from Phoenix like to Louisiana. Was it like that back then?
Oh yeah, I remember like because we had visited every summer, but we visited like my grandma, and like we'd go to the I-10 beach in Lake Charles as like our summer vacation. It was like we were kind of insular to our family there. My parents knew a lot of people because they had grown up there, but I remember like I was still acting like I was getting ready to go to high school in Arizona because it was kind of like a secret move. My dad didn't like tell his job yet, and so we were like sort of like slowly doing it over the course of a year, and so I was still preparing to go to high school in Arizona. On the DL, and it was going to be a high school of like 2,000-3,000 kids. I was going to try out for cheerleading. It was like one of those major high schools. And like when we were about to move, I remember hearing I had to wear school uniforms, and I was like, I was being a fashion girl. Like I was like having a meltdown every day. And then also I remember asking my dad, like seriously, like, do you think they have iPods in Westlake? Because he was like, I don't know. And I was like, what? Like, is it going to just be like swamp people? Like I didn't know like what level, and it ended up being fine. I mean, there was like, you know, some things are behind the curve, but for the most part, everybody was normal. It was just like a very small, tight community that I kind of dropped into. And so they all thought that I was like new and different, but my parents knew all their parents. So it was like, I was still the new kid, but also like not, cause like everyone still knew each other. Was
there a lot of creativity there, or were you kind of like the light there?
I mean, I think there were a lot of opportunities to engage in being creative because it was just such a small community. Yeah. If like I wanted to be in student council, they're like, all right. I'm like, I want to run for president or vice president, whatever. They're like, okay. And you know, like I want to be on the tennis team. Okay. It was very like easy to make whatever narrative you wanted to have happen. So I had a lot of fun expressing myself online and all that, because MySpace was kind of becoming big, like I mentioned, and doing like photo shoots with my friends. And it was just like real easy small town stuff. I could go do photos with my friends on the railroad tracks and like, we're not gonna get kidnapped, you know, like it was just like a much smaller community. I really always think about how different my life would be had I stayed in Phoenix and gone that route. Like, I don't know if I would have been able to do as much or be involved in as many things, because it was just such a big pond, you know?
You know, you talk about that opportunity, and I've heard people say the same exact thing about Baton Rouge. You know, like it's big enough so that you have a footprint and that you can build brands, but it's small enough that it's not very competitive.
Right.
And so take me through your career, right? So you're at LSU, majoring in fine art, and it's cool that you were able to really like capitalize on your degree, because, you know, I feel like a lot of people who, you know, end up in art, you know, went to school for something else, or vice versa. They went to school for art and then they got out doing something completely different.
Right.
And so like, talk me through kind of what college was like for you, and how, you know, you, I guess, morphed into what it is you're doing today. Yeah.
So, I mean, I was kind of that cliche, like middle-class white girl going to go major in art. Everyone's like, okay, whatever. Like, that's like not a real degree. Especially my brother, he's a couple years younger than me, but he ended up going through petroleum engineering, and it was such a grueling thing. Fast forward to COVID, guess who was employed and who wasn't?
Right.
I was the one that was able to do work, and he actually doesn't even work in engineering now, because the market was so bad. But anyways, yeah, going to LSU for that, I was involved. I was in a sorority, but I was also really involved in fine art. And so it was a weird line to straddle. It was two totally different worlds.
Yeah.
And I've always kind of been that way. I was the cheer captain, but I was also in band. Like, I was always kind of like in these different groups, because I have lots of different interests. And college was the same way. In the fine art department, the program was really fun. It was difficult in a lot of its own ways, but I definitely got knocked a lot for it. They're like, that's not real. That's not like a real degree. We were in the dark room a lot. My classes were 3-hour classes, studio classes. I had to take painting and drawing and graphic design and printmaking and all these different art disciplines that I don't necessarily use today. And even like photography, a lot of it was black and white photography in the dark room, shooting film. So much of that is irrelevant to what I'm doing. I haven't touched that since college. But it was really great in terms of finding your own style and learning how to like put your work out there in front of your peers and getting critiqued on things. Although it was like a very different type of work that I'm doing now, because it was like, college is a simulation, you know, like you're in this like bubble. And so everything that was so important to me, and all like the prompts and the projects and the assignments I had were very like only relevant to that world. Like, now my work is so much like, it's commercial. It's like, does the client like it? Does it fit the price point? Are things in focus? Are the colors right? But in college, it was like, what does it mean? Like, what does your work mean? Like, you know, what frame did you decide to put it in for your gallery show? It was so different than like what I'm doing now. So all that to say, I think a lot of art majors don't go into that profession. It's kind of just like it can be like a silly degree, I guess, in some aspects. And I think it might just be a way people buy time, because they don't know what they want to do. Whereas a lot of other great photographers I know, and artists in general, they studied mass comm, or they were in journalism, or they were in something totally different. Because art has become, well, in photography in particular, has become more accessible now. So you don't necessarily have to major in it. Like, I don't feel like I'm in any better position to be a photographer because I majored in it than other people. So much of what I've learned has been after I graduated.
That's interesting. And you mentioned earlier, because I can remember the MySpace days and then Tumblr, and like, remember how everyone used to know how to code on MySpace. Like,
we were all doing HTML for no reason.
Yeah, you didn't realize it, but you were actually coding.
Yeah.
And so I think back to that, and like how much the world has changed with the iPhone and with the front-facing camera, and like you were really like riding that wave the whole way through. Is that something you ever considered when you picked a career? Like, did you see that it would come into this, or you just always loved it and it was like, I'm just going to go for it?
It was more of, I just loved it, and I was just like, I don't know, I'm just doing things and we'll see where it goes. I've always been very I'm an overachiever, like the whole eldest daughter overachiever thing. Yeah. And so like, I always knew no matter what I would do, I'd figure it out. I just never really thought I would be owning my own business and doing it per se. I really thought I was still like in that mindset, like I'm going to like work for like a magazine or like some fashion thing, or I'm going to like move to New York and do all these things, or I don't really know what I thought, but I never considered really working for myself. It just kind of happened to me. And going back to like the MySpace stuff, it really is crazy because like I didn't know like the term graphic design or like digital art. I was just like making stuff. I was using photos I took on the internet. Like looking back now, I'm like, all this stuff is like copyrighted. I'm like jocking other people's layouts and changing the code and like switching things around and you know, taking photos and merging them, like photoshopping myself on the red carpet with Taylor Lautner, like stupid stuff. Like, but that's all like skills that like I've used now professionally. I like worked in a Manship Theater in graphic design for a year, and then a little bit part-time for a few years after. And so many of my skills are just like self-taught things that I learned like messing around in my room on MySpace and Tumblr, you know? So it's crazy. There's a whole generation of us that worked like in marketing and design and photography that got our start just like messing around on MySpace. So
yeah. So what did those early opportunities look like for you, like in photography, you know, kind of coming out of LSU?
Yeah, so I decided to take an internship with a local photographer named Jen Oken my junior year, I believe, and it was like very few hours. It was a course credit, unpaid thing. And she had a office space on Highland, and it was still like in the age where like you're burning CDs for your clients or you're putting the photos on like USB drives and delivering them. And social media was like just kind of becoming like a thing that you would use to market your business. And it's huge for photographers, obviously. Now that we think about it, it's like you can't imagine a photographer that's not using social media. But at the time it was kind of like, oh wait, we can put her photography on Facebook and like post it and get jobs that way. So I kind of like inadvertently turned into like the mini marketing person of her office and was doing like photo editing. I was designing Christmas cards for her clients. I was swapping people's heads in photos if their eyes were blinking, or, you know, photoshopping things out of the background. I was running her social media. And so that was a fun internship. And I did that, I believe, my junior and senior year. And I worked for her full time the first year out of college. And it was hard because it's like at the same time I want to do my own thing. I don't really know what that is yet, but it's weird working for another photographer all day. It's fun at first, but there comes a time where you're kind of like, okay, like I see how the sausage is made. I can do it myself now. And so like I outgrew that after that year of working full time. And I ended up getting a job at Manship Theater downtown doing graphic design. And I took that job because a friend of mine had the job before, and she was like, I think you'd be good for this. I know you like concerts. And I was really trying to get into concert photography in particular. And I was like, this is my way to weasel my way into becoming a venue photographer. I'll just be the graphic designer and I'll have access to the whole theater and I can just shoot all the shows too. And that's exactly what happened. So although my major and my training was not in graphic design, it was like always that underlying skill set. There's so much of this stuff that overlaps, you know? And I was able to have that job, and that was really fun as well. Working for a nonprofit theater with a very small team, a lot of cool things come through that theater, and I just got to design a lot of the promo materials, like billboards, and I really built out a portfolio very quick because I was making social media content, I was making billboards, I was making full-on like brochures, pamphlets, marketing materials, and then getting to do photography all alongside that to enhance the designs I was making. I could just be like, oh, I'll just go get a photo myself and then put it in my design instead of having to go find the content. So that was kind of a pivot from what I thought I would be doing, but it really was great timing because I just really wanted to get into the music industry, and that's kind of like a local way to do it.
Yeah, it sounds like that was like the pivotal moment, like the springboard moment for you. And I think back to my friends in college who were, you know, very artsy in a good way. I have this one friend named Blaine McGowan who kind of came up through like sneaker boutiques, and now he's designing sneakers with all the big brands, and you know, Sneaker Politics is this big brand that Blaine has really immersed himself in, and he's like one of the guys there. But coming out of college, you know, he took, I think, an accounting job because, you know, starving artists like is a real thing. So like, how was that for you? Like making a living, like coming out of college, being, you know, in that realm.
It's really such a trope that's so true. But really now in this day and age too, with the economy and everything, like a lot of people are starving artists, even if they're not artists. Like a lot of people are having to like make ends meet doing more than one job. And side hustles and entrepreneurship has like, I feel like had such a skyrocket since COVID because of like the internet and TikTok, and anyone can just get a camera and become a YouTuber. And I mean, there's so many different avenues now for entrepreneurship that are more accessible than they were. But it was definitely difficult because I was still like, I was like on my parents' health insurance, working for the other photographer for like $10 an hour, 10 to 4 p.m., no benefits. But I'm like, this is great. Like I got money to go to the mall, whatever. I was paying my rent. That's really all I needed to pay for at the time. And then working at Manship Theater, I mean, it's a nonprofit and it was entry level. So like, let's just say I made more in senior pictures in a month than I did like an entire year there. But at the time, it was like a job offer and it was like a real job. And I had like a parking space in the garage downtown and I had health insurance. And so this is like cool. But looking back, like I really could have made so much more money if I just started in portraiture altogether. But that was kind of the breaking point. Was I only lasted full time there for a year because I was working 9 to 5 and I was the math was starting to like math.
Yeah, or
where I'm
math,
like,
yeah.
wait, if I do like 5 senior pictures this week at the time with what I was charging, I could probably make like $1,000. And like my paycheck at Manship probably was about equivalent to that for like every 2 weeks or something.
Yeah.
So I was taking every sick day and vacation day to shoot. And then I was like taking off a lot because I really wanted to shoot concerts. And I'd find out I was approved to shoot a concert in New Orleans at like 4 p.m., but then the show's at 7. So I got to get out and get over there. So I would leave early. And so I was doing a lot of burning the candle at both ends with that job. And it was a really fun time. It was exactly 10 years ago. It was 2015. But it got to the point where it was kind of like, okay, I'm, for lack of a better word, half-assing 2 things and barely making ends meet. And I'm like really like stretched thin. I should lean into one or the other, but it was like a risk either way. And it kind of came to a head. I got a job offer, like an interview offer for a different position in town. Like they sought me out and I was like, I have a job. I don't want this. And they were like, please come interview. And it was like a digital content, social media management kind of job. And I didn't get the job, but it kind of forced me at that time to reevaluate because like I was just kind of doing my thing and I was just going to be hustling 24/7 for the foreseeable future. And it made me really think about like, okay, well, maybe I should lean in just to do photography because I could do social media management freelance. I could do graphic design freelance. I could do all these things freelance and maybe piece together the same, if not more, of my salary. And so that's what I did. And then I found out pretty shortly after, I tried to quit. I tried to quit at Manship, and I love those people so much, and they know this. Like, they didn't really let me quit. They were like, just come like one day a week until we figure it out. And I did that for 6 more years. Like, I really was like very part-time, but I was still doing basically my full-time job I had in a very small amount of time.
Sounds like a bad relationship. Yeah.
It was really good. I really must say, like, they're wonderful people. I only did it for so long because I loved like the environment. It was wonderful. But all that to say, I ended up kind of trying to quit. And so I got off like the health insurance and all that and found out I needed to have neck surgery. I had like, my arm was going numb. I was having this like tingling, like you feel like when you hit your funny bone, but it was happening in my arm like at all times. And I was doing yoga and chiropractor and PT and all these things to try to figure it out. And they were like, you have a slipped disc. If it doesn't get better from all this like therapy, you're gonna have a disc replacement surgery. And I did. So it was like really scary because I had just quit. Not that like Manship was like really like the cushiest job, but it was that stability, you know, and it was still that scary thing where like I just started to do photography full time, but now I can't even like I'm supposed to be on bed rest for like 8 weeks. Like, how do I make money? So it was kind of like the massive come to Jesus moment of like, okay, I have to figure out ways to be creative as an entrepreneur and not just rely. Cause like as a photographer, what if I go blind? What if I break an arm? What if I like, you know, have more health problems? Like it's a very physical job and it's like, you are the one doing it. You can't really send someone else out under your name. I guess you could, but I don't want to. And I feel like this is a long-winded answer, but
no, good answer.
That was kind of like a big moment of like, I have to figure out, like, I felt like it was like my big girl moment. I was like, I got to figure out my finances. I got to figure out like how to not burn myself out. And I got to figure out how to keep myself healthy and balance all these things. Because it's not like no one's going to do it for you as an entrepreneur, you know?
So it sounds like you had exposure to certain opportunities, and I'm interested to hear more about the concerts and the, you know, because you know I now have 3 daughters and I have a son on the way. But before we had kids, my wife and I would go to concerts like every month, and we travel to go to them, and like we learned the tricks of the concerts, and then and just like just the whole vibe is like really awesome and something we really love, like live music in general. But I know you mentioned like you might find out that you got approved to shoot like 3 hours before the concert. Like, what does that application process look like, and like what happens when you get there, and then what happens like afterwards to the stuff that you shoot?
Yeah, so I got into concert photography through like a Facebook group. Really, it was one of those things where like I've always loved music. It's like I played guitar and trumpet and I danced, and I'm very passionate about music. And coming up in the MySpace ages, I'm an emo kid. Like I loved all that stuff, and I love the Beatles, and I love everything. I love rap, I love country, I love everything. And it was just one of those things like I never even thought was possible. You'd see like iconic photos of like Led Zeppelin in the 70s and be like, that's so cool. And then like I wouldn't even think further about like who took that? How did they get access? Were they friends of the band? Like it wasn't even like, attainable for me. And I was in this Facebook group with a bunch of other female photographers. I just like joined, and it was like people from all over the world. And people were talking about applying for press passes to shoot concerts for these like online blogs and stuff. And I was like, what do you mean like a press pass? And it just never occurred to me that there was like a journalism side of things. That's not what I studied. I studied fine art. And so once I realized like, oh, like nobody cares about who you are or your photography. They care about what publication you're with. If I can get in with a publication, that's what holds the weight when it comes to requesting photo passes, because the band wants press. And I mean, like, there's exceptions to that. If you're really good and you're friends with the band and they take you on tour, that's one thing. Or you work for the label, or you're a house photographer for the venue. There's all these different ways you can get access. But for the most part, it's press related. So you have to be tied to like some sort of publication that's going to run some sort of story or recap about the concert. Otherwise, they're not just going to like let you come shoot for no reason. And so I started shooting for an online blog for free. It was called Stitch Sound. It's still around. And this was also about like 9 or 10 years ago. I really got into it. I was like super young and like didn't have a dog yet and didn't really have any like responsibilities. And I could just like run off to New Orleans and stay with a friend and like shoot a concert and come home and, stay up till 3 a.m. and edit the photos and do it all for free. Like it was like so easy to do that so many times because I was like really hustling. Now I'm like, okay, I still love it. It's my passion, but I need a little bit more, more substance to that. But yeah, so I would just shoot my shot. So there's all these different like Facebook groups and stuff I'd be in, and these like Reddit threads and groups where I'd find out like the way to do it. And we would all share techniques and tips and contacts with each other. And it was like, the typical thing is that like if a band's on tour, you can reach out to their publicist or their manager. They have different ways to reach out, or sometimes the venue. And you would be like, hey, like, my name's Jordan. I'm a photographer for whatever publication. I'm requesting a photo pass and a ticket for the night. Like a recap of the night would be released like the day after. Please let me know what's possible. Thank you. And like, that was like the email. And I was so surprised at like some of the things I got approved to shoot. And then I would also get denied a lot too, or ghosted completely, which was hard because then you're playing chicken. You're like, okay, the show starts at 5. I still haven't heard back. Like, do I need to leave to go to New Orleans, the traffic? And do I need to, and so a lot of times it was just like I was getting ghosted too, but I got approved to shoot so many shows that way. And I would have to write a review. And I'm not like a professional writer by any means, but I mean, I liked writing and I was like good at English and stuff in high school and college. So if that was the way I could get access, then I would write. Because a lot of times they're not just going to let you come shoot. They want to have like the article piece to go with it. And so even these smaller blogs, like it's still press, it's still SEO for these bands. It's still good. So a lot of times you'll get approved. And going back to that whole like kind of small pond thing, our market here is not super saturated. Baton Rouge doesn't get a ton of concerts. If they do, they go to New Orleans. And even then, a lot of tours skip over to Louisiana completely. A lot of bands like to have their off day in New Orleans. Like they'll come like hang out in New Orleans and like they'll play like 4 shows in like Texas, skip over us and go to like Georgia or Florida. So if we do get anything in New Orleans, it's not like there's a ton of concert photographers doing it around here, like compared to like in LA or Chicago or New York or something. So it was, I wouldn't say easy, but it was like I was able to kind of like get access to things pretty quickly because the press list here is just less competitive. So if they only have 10 photo passes and you're like in New York and it's like Rolling Stone and Billboard and like whatever small blog's not going to get access. But if you shoot that same tour in another city that maybe has less, then you have a better chance. And so I felt like I just was in the right place at the right time and was able to shoot a lot here. And so it was for free, most of it. And I got to build my portfolio and get photos of artists and see things and people up close and bands I love and bands I didn't love and bands I didn't even know. And it was just a really fun time to kind of hustle. And now I'm kind of finally seeing the fruits of that labor with like some paid work doing music type stuff. But it's definitely a passion project because like that's the lowest paid thing in my career I'll get. Like I can make so much more money just going to shoot like headshots or like a family session or, a day of commercial work or something
Yeah, like not only are you not getting paid, but also the opportunity cost. Like what could you be shooting and making money with?
Which at the time it didn't matter because I was still like really hustling, building my portfolio.
Yeah.
Now it is like I have to weigh that. It's like, okay, I really love this thing. Should I go do it? I was in Mississippi last night at a concert, like just enjoying it. And I have this FOMO now. I can't like enjoy a concert anymore because I'm always like, there's one photographer in the pit. Oh, okay, who is that? Like, do I know that person? Okay, wait, is the first 3 songs or do they get to shoot longer? Or, are the soundboard? Like, I'm always thinking about that. I'm not even enjoying the show anymore.
Yeah.
Or I'm like just watching the lighting, being like, damn, that would have been a good shot. Like, I can't chill. And so it's hard I've gotten better, but it's hard for me to just enjoy. But I was thinking like, I probably could have found a way to shoot that show last night, but did I really want to drive to Biloxi and then shoot the show and then come home late and then have to edit everything immediately? Because like it's times of the essence with the press stuff. Like they want stuff posted like within a couple days, usually the day after if possible. So if I'm doing all that and then I like, had like paid shoots today or something and now I'm like not performing for my client because of that, it's a hard thing to weigh. So I don't do it as much anymore. Yeah. But I miss it.
So why is it that that so many artists pass up New Orleans? Is it just because they're worried about the draw?
I don't know. I really don't know. I've heard a few things. I think there's like tax stuff. I think there's logistics stuff. Like if you're routing a tour, it's just like, it's kind of out of the way to come down here just to go back up to like Georgia or something. So I don't know. But I mean, like we have like all the Live Nation venues, like the Smoothie King Center and the Superdome, they're the SMG Global or whatever, the company that owns like all these venues, House of Blues is in there, the Fillmore, same companies that own like the River Center here. I don't know if they own it. I don't, don't shoot the messenger. It's something like that, but they're all like in cahoots. And so you would think that we would get more. And the River Center here has been getting way better acts in the past few years. Like I'm about to shoot ZZ Top on Friday next week. Like that's cool. Huge. And like we've been getting some really cool stuff here. It's more country than anything. Like I just shot Lainey Wilson and I've done like Parker McCollum and I think Bailey Zimmerman's coming in the spring. And so it's more country, I think, for our market here. But New Orleans, I mean, they get the big shows, but the bigger shows are the ones that are harder to get access to. There was like a golden age, I feel like, where I was at House of Blues like once a week doing something because it's just a smaller venue. It's a little easier to get in. But those bigger arena shows, like they're definitely harder to get access to. And usually there's more stipulations and like constraints to like what you can and can't do, where you can and can't be. You have to shoot from really far away with like a football lens or it's pretty industry standard to only shoot the first 3 songs. That's like typical. But like I photographed Taylor Swift last year and it was the first 2 songs, but her first 2 songs were kind of like a mashup. So it was like kind of the same time thing. But when I photographed Garth Brooks here, they were like, okay, we'll tell you when you can like lift your cameras. And it was like the second song. It was weird. Like everyone has like a different thing, but it's typically, you only have like 15 minutes collectively, typically to shoot these shows. So you kind of just, I do all this work and I get there and then they usually kick you out unless you have a ticket to stay. So you do all that, and then you're like, okay, I guess I'll drive home now.
What was it like shooting Taylor Swift?
I mean, for me, I'm a massive Swiftie, so it was like more so just like a career moment for me.
Yeah.
It was surreal because I had gone to the concert in Houston the year before, and I was like drunk in the nosebleeds with my friends, like enjoying it. And this was a totally different experience being on the floor. But we were at the end of like the runway, and there was only like, I think 7 of us approved to shoot, which was a big deal. And I mean, but you can't take a bad picture of her because a show at that level of production, lighting is perfect. She stops and she poses it and she knows what she's doing to where like you're like dumb if you can't get a good picture. Like she's standing there for like 20 seconds, like giving you an opportunity, So on one hand, you're not going to get any different photos than any other photographer because she's doing the same thing every show. But on the other hand, the production level is just so high quality. Like you don't have to worry about that because concerts are like generally pretty hard to shoot. They're dark. You can't control anything. You can't control where you're standing. You really have to rely on like if the light comes up at that moment or if you're like using specific types of lenses. But if like you're, the concerts are unpredictable is I guess the point. Especially like heavier shows. I'd like to shoot a lot of like rock music and stuff. And you might be all set up for something and then you get kicked in the head by a crowd surfer. Like, or like security gets so bad that they actually take the photographers out of the pit early because like there's too many people like crowd surfing or like stage diving. So it's really unpredictable. And that's what I like about it. But something like as big as Taylor Swift, it was like picture perfect. So it was just like very much like a career milestone for me to do. Yeah. And I did it for InRegister, so they got to print the photos. It was really cool.
That is cool. Yeah. Then it was that, I think your Taylor Swift shoot that really caught Kimber's eye because she's a huge Swiftie.
We talked about that, yeah.
And I am too, believe it or not. I mean, who
isn't these days?
Yeah, I know. Like with my daughters.
I'm sure, yeah.
And I'm not afraid to say that. I mean, like, you know, game recognizes game. And so, you know, I'm not afraid to say I like Taylor Swift. But what's also interesting to me too is kind of the side of your business that goes beyond concerts, but into like athletics and like sports venues and things of that nature. And so, you know, obviously you mentioned how, you know, you were interested in cheerleading and, you know, like very sports, like you kind of did a little bit of everything growing up. And so like, how does shooting sports, how do you compare that to concerts, and like, what do you enjoy more?
So I will say I want to shoot more sports. I'm putting that out there. I only really have shot LSU football, and even that I only shoot like 2 or 3 games a year, and I've done that every year since 2016. I guess minus the years of COVID that didn't happen. And I have shot them for 225 magazine locally. Like, so it's hard to do, and I feel like I can't ever really get better at it, because by the time I get the hang of it, I gotta wait a year until I can do it again. Versus some like the LSU student photography team is so good, and I'm so jealous that I didn't know about that program when I was a student in college, because these kids are getting access to this like $10,000 lenses. They're getting to use LSU's like equipment, and they're getting access. Like they get to shoot, they get to practice all the time because they're shooting all these different kinds of sports, and they have like closer access, and they can travel with the team, and they can do all these things. And so for me, I find that because I haven't had that much experience shooting sports, besides like the limited amount that I have done, shooting concerts is what prepared me, because there's really nothing like shooting sports. I mean, maybe wildlife, if you try to go photograph like a bird, like that's hard. They fly fast. It's hard to stay zoomed in on something and track the motion. The closest thing I could think of to practice on would be like take your dog to the dog park and like just try to like track the motion, because you're so zoomed in. It's the same thing as like hunting. When you're like that, the slightest change, like you're knocked completely out, and then you lose the ball. Like you lose the subject. So concerts, funny enough, are similar to sports because of those things I mentioned. Like you're out of control. Like you can't be like, oh, do that again. Like, or like, hey, you blinked that time. Or like, hey, like the light wasn't good. Let's try it again. You can do that with portraits. You can do that even sometimes to an extent, like events. Like if you're like hired to do that thing and you have a little bit more like territory with it. Sports and concerts, you're just like another person with a press pass, and you all have like equal access, and you can only do certain things in certain places at certain times. And so your limitations are your equipment and just like, I guess, just getting better at tracking motion in situations that you can't control. And so concerts really helped kind of prepare me for that, I think, because I think a lot of people who only photograph like still subjects, they can be really good at like photographing a studio portrait, but then you throw them in like an event or something where they have to track motion, and like it's really difficult for them, or they can't like bring lighting or something. Like you can't bring lighting to the football game. It is what it is, you know? So rain or shine, you know, nighttime, daytime. So I do think that that's helped to prepare me, but I would love to shoot more sports, because it just feels like you're always like on the cusp of like, maybe the next shot is my best shot. Maybe but maybe the next one. And like, you're really at the mercy of what's happening. So it helps to know the game a little bit, but I always tell people like, no shame that I don't know a ton about football. Like I know enough to like understand, but like, I'm not like in the weeds of like, oh, that's that recruit, or he's that guy and he's going to go that. I don't know the plays, and things look different when you're on the field too. Like you can't see it as clearly. And so I think that's almost an advantage for me as an editorial photographer, because I'm photographing everything like equally. I'm like, I don't know who's important. And you're really like, I'm looking at like the photo and the light and the composition. I'm not even processing sometimes like what number player that was or who that was until like later on the computer. I'm like, oh, cool. Like my fiance will be like, oh my God, you got a photo of so-and-so. I'm like, cool. Didn't know at the time. And it almost makes me better because I'm not like distracted by like trying to get something specific, if that makes sense. And I'm not like a fangirl because I don't know. I'm just like, whatever. Like, and so later, sometimes it's cool to be like, whoa, I have that photo. But I know enough to understand like the quarterback and the starters and whatever. But I think it makes me shoot it differently too. But I do think there's an advantage to those photographers that know the game in and out, and especially the team photographers, because they know the players in and out, and they know they can pick up on like how I feel with concerts. Like I'm good at knowing who the beat's about to drop, or like if I know this song, I know like it like does something crazy here. So he might jump off the drum kit, or like they might change the lights. So I can preempt music much better than I can sports. But like the team photographers are probably that way with the sports, because they are around it all day. They shoot the practices. They're a little bit more in the know about what might happen. And so that's a different type of advantage that they would have too.
Interesting. And you know what drew us to you was really the portrait side. And I'm curious, like, I know you started off, maybe not started off, but you did a lot of senior portraits and just, customary things that, when people, when people are, I guess, getting to that age where, births and weddings, and you don't do weddings, right?
I don't.
Okay, I didn't think so. I remember hearing that. And,
I did a few, and no.
So
never again.
But like getting to portraits, right? Something that, like, I think we were talking about this. Well, I think we had just turned the camera on, but about, I take accounting portraits, for instance, like boring people, like, stale cracker, like look. What was it about portraits for you that like made you take a super creative spin on it? And was it your experiences with concerts, let's say, that gave you the, I guess, confidence to like step out and do things a little bit different from a portrait perspective?
Yeah, I would say, it's funny, when I was in college, like there was like a photography club. I think I went to like one meeting, but I remember them like saying, go around the table, introduce yourself and like what you like to shoot. And I specifically remember being like, I like to photograph anything without people. Like I don't want to photograph people, which is like so funny because like that's 99% of what I shoot now is people, whether it's posed or candid, it's people. But I think that came from a place of like being kind of like inexperienced with like how to pose people, how to interact with people, because I think people, like I keep saying people, I think a lot of people don't realize that photography is more often than not like about your social skills than it is about like the actual craft of photography. Like anyone can really learn to be a photographer from a technical sense. I think there's creativity involved there too that maybe isn't learned so much, but a lot of it is just like being a people person.
And that's business, by the way.
Yeah.
Like same in accounting. Like anybody can do debits and credits, but like how you deliver it and how you interact and how do you vibe with like the person you're with. It's so true. And it's so interesting to hear that from an artist standpoint as well.
Yeah, because I mean, if you just want to make fine art all day, like a lot of people I went to school with are so talented, but they're just like kind of doing their own like fine art thing, and they don't have to interact with people so much. They just like make art and people can purchase it or But if you want to do it like in a commercial sense, like you have to be friendly. And I do think that's like where the sorority girl aspect of me comes into play, where I'm just like a very friendly, open book. And I mean, not to say I don't like have my battery depleted a lot of times, but like photography is really such a social thing, and it's a physical thing more than it is like a art thing in a lot of times. And so portraits, I feel like you can get good at posing people, but there's like a limitation to that. Like you have to like, in order to make people comfortable, you have to like know how to act around them.
Yeah.
And like if you're a freak, like, or you're awkward or you're antisocial, I think that affects the person's experience. So then it affects their pictures because they're not comfortable in the setting. So I think it took a long time for me to get better at that. And that's just something that comes with practice, but I think it is a personality thing too. But I just got to the point too where I was like, I'm just kind of doing the same thing over and over again. I don't want to be known for this. Like any photographer can do like a headshot on a white background. Like I understand that that's necessary and people need that. I'm not like discounting that. It's just like, why am I getting hired to do it like every day? Like I don't want to do this. I don't want to be known for this. Like how do I break out of that? And maybe I'm still doing that, but that's not what I'm posting, and that's like not what I want to specialize in. And so I was always afraid of lighting, like creating my own lighting. I shied away from it for like 10 years because it was intimidating to me. I kind of dabbled in college a little bit, and like the gear never worked out, and it was just like it felt too intimidating. And so when I was working for Jen Oak, and she's like an all natural light photographer. And that was really inspiring to me because I'm like, oh, look, like you can have a successful business and you can just do it all like documentary style, like with available light. That's a totally different skill set. And it's actually harder in a lot of ways. And shooting concerts and sports and events and stuff, like a lot of times you're just kind of having to deal with learning how to make it look good with the parameters that you're, in. And so when I started kind of playing with lighting, probably about 3 or 4 years ago, I was like, oh, this is elevating my work in a way that like reminds me of like why I like concert photography so much, because it's epic because of the lighting. Like nobody ever wants to give like kudos to like the lighting person at a concert, but like that's like so much of how you're going to remember the show, how it like impacts the way you feel, how like it impacts the way you hear the music. And I think it gives the band confidence on stage too, because it makes them look cool. Yeah. And it makes my photos look cool. So it's like so much of what I'm doing is like to the credit of the lighting designer. So in a portrait setting, I was like, wait, I can be my own lighting designer. This is crazy. Like, how can I learn how to emulate some of those dramatic looks, but like in my own way? And so really diving into lighting and trying to learn more of that in the past few years, I feel like has started to make my style a little bit more specific. And not to say I don't still do like regular clean lit photos, but I really wanted to try to push doing colorful lighting or more interesting and like unique lighting setups, because I think clients want that too. They don't know that they want it because they're usually not creative thinking. They're just like, we're going to hire you. And they don't like know what they want until you show them. So if I can be like, look at this cool thing I did, maybe we can do that for you. Then they're like, awesome. And then it sets them apart too for their business. So it's kind of like a domino effect, I feel like.
And speaking of lighting, as I mentioned, my wife and I love concerts. In 2016, we went to Nashville for Kanye West, The Life of Pablo concert. And I don't know if you're familiar with it, but that was the one where he had...
Is he like in the middle with like the...
Yeah, so he was
the
like...
mosh pit thing around or whatever?
So he performed on this like floating stage. And so essentially the stage moved all around the venue. And this was... it's where they play hockey, Bridgestone Arena, I think. And so it was really cool for the fans because, there's no bad seat because, he's...
It's 360, yeah.
Yeah, and then they had like the pit below him. And I mean, it was just like an amazing like display of art. And I'm looking at your shirt and I'm looking at our brand and like his thing was orange. Like he had like the most amazing
I remember the merch
lighting.
too. It was like those orange shirts with like Life of Pablo, Life of Pablo.
And I mean, artist personality, say what you will about that, but like it is, I mean, undebatable. Like you cannot debate the fact that he is like one of the best artists of all time.
Yeah, he's super creative.
And so like I'm thinking back, like, was there something like that happened to me at that concert that made me love orange? And I'm looking and I'm like having this like existential crisis right now.
Because you associate good memories with it, maybe.
Yeah. But all that to be said, I think the lighting was just amazing at that concert. And I really underestimate, like it's not something like, to me, I'm never looking for that. But like in retrospect, you think of a core memory and like then you think of the lighting of it, and so it's really cool that you were able to take like something that is to me kind of subtle because I'm not an artist and like really like make it your thing, Well,
I think like the goal too is that like it is subtle to people. Like they don't realize why they like something, but you just created that environment, for
sure.
them. And so I think that's what I've been trying to do more of lately. And just like also I was kind of getting burnt out. It was just like, I'm just doing the same shoots over and over again, the same places and the same things. And once I started like kind of messing around with lighting, I was like, oh, there's a whole nother like facet to photography that makes me feel excited to learn again. It makes me feel creative again. It makes me look at the world differently. I can't watch movies anymore because I'm like, how do they like that? Like, how do they do that? I look at magazine photos now and it's like, okay, like there's the reflection of the light in her eyes from this side with the shadows. So they must have like done, like I'm constantly deconstructing things now. And it's like a fun challenge because then I want to be able to like recreate something from my imagination in real life. And it's like, okay, well, where do I start? Because I'm so used to showing up and it was like whatever it looked like is what it looked like. And I would maybe make it my style from like the editing side of things. But now I'm like obsessed with lighting and it's just so fun to be able to like control and like manipulate the scene in a way that you want it to be portrayed. And
so like as you've continued to progress in your career from a portrait perspective, I mean, you've photographed a lot of people that I look up to, Drew Brees, like Brandon Landry. You did Todd Graves too, or no?
I work with them sometimes.
And so like, what's it like being around high achievers like that? Because I mean, you obviously are that. And like, I'm not surprised at all that you jive with people who, work hard and are tenacious and have a lot of grit. Does it really kind of give you fuel to keep getting better and improving your craft and I guess continuing to level up?
Yeah, for sure. So I mean, like those three men that you explained, I mean, they're like Louisiana legends, right? And I think like the first thing I really noticed about working with any of them is like, I'm really not even working with any of them directly. It's like they all have handlers or like assistants or somebody. Like I'm just there, and I know like Todd and Brandon know who I am, but I don't know if Drew has remembered or picked up on, like I photographed him a few different times because it's always like in the context of like at like an event or like this thing. And so I've shot for different brands where like I was just the photographer and he happened to be there. It's not like he like called me up and like hired me or anything. But all that to say, all three of those guys are just like very efficient. It's like I learned real quick, like you will not waste their time. Like they have like 5 minutes and that's it. And so you better learn to figure it out and be ready. And so it keeps you on your toes, and like not like in a negative way. Like they're just like, they're busy people. People of that level of caliber, they got like, you're just 1 5-minute window of their crazy day, you know? And so it's been cool to be on the fringe of that and kind of watch that. And then, I mean, just obviously too, like in recent weeks, you know, he's going to be like on the cover of Forbes and all this stuff. And like, he's just like reaching all these new heights. And it's just really cool to see somebody who is like a true entrepreneur do that. And so, you know, that even though they're probably very stressed and you only have a few minutes with them, like they were in my shoes at one point, you know, like they understand, like, I think they recognize like all levels of entrepreneurship. So it's been really interesting to see that, but it's still like, I'm scared of everybody. I'm like, oh, yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I hope it looks good. Okay.
So as you've continued to progress and, you know, you kind of have your thing, right? And it's lighting. It sounds like you like to work with people who are open-minded and who, you know, are maybe open to taking risks and trying new things. And so has it been hard for you to learn to say no to people who are like, look, Jordan, I want you to come shoot, but like, it's just traditional and you want to help them out, but at the same time, you really don't want to?
It's the story of my whole life. I'm a massive people pleaser.
Me too.
And I think like there's something to be said about, like everyone always says, like when you hit like 30, stuff just changes. And I was always like, okay, sure. And I really do think it is like a subconscious like priority thing that happens where you just like, stuff that used to be so important to me is just not as important. Even like to the concert thing, I would simply pass away if I found out like my favorite artist was coming through and I did not get to shoot. I would like make it my entire, it'd be everyone's problem. And now I'm like, oh, that's so cool. That came through. Like, it's just things like change and priorities change. And so with that being said, that has probably been the only way I've been able to sort of grow out of the people pleaser thing. I'm still working on it, but I think a lot of it is, I think it's like being a female. We just have this like internalized like need to make sure everyone's comfortable all the time. And also owning your own business, and like, especially when your business is your name, like my company is Jordan Hefler Photography, LLC. Like, I don't want to ever give someone a negative impression or whatever, because to me, like reputation and being easy to work with, like trumps everything. So it's hard for me to set boundaries with things, and especially in a small town too. Because like, okay, maybe I photographed your thing 5 years ago, but I don't really want to do that anymore. But like, I don't want to tell you no, because like you've been good to me and it's money, and like maybe I like you a lot, but then it's like a can of worms too, because if you do that, then they're going to tell 5 of their friends and then they want the same thing. So it's really hard to like I always say, if I move somewhere new, I could just start over and be like, okay, I'm only doing these things. But it's hard and it's very nuanced, because it's like, and I mean, like going back to even like Todd Graves, super nice family. His daughter had like a debutante ball and they asked if I would shoot it. And it's basically like shooting a wedding. And I was kind of like, I would never like want to do a debutante ball, but like, y'all are really great people. Sure. And it was wonderful. And so it just depends. It might be the people, it might be the relationship you have with the people. And so it's hard for me to be like, I don't want to do that. Sometimes I'll be like, oh, I'm not available. And then they'll be like, well, when are you? And I'm like, never. I'm never going to be available. I'm so sorry. Because I cannot ghost people. Like, I don't know how. Like, I won't be able to sleep at night. So it's really hard for me. I'm working on it. But I think that's part of the growth.
So how do you get around that? Like, when they really say, like, when are you available? Like do you just say, like, look, I just don't do this anymore? Or
I've tried. Like, recently I got asked to do something for like a dentist place. And I had already told like an orthodontist a year before, like, I didn't really want to work with them. And it wasn't necessarily them, but it was just like, I don't, like, at the grand scheme of things, like, how much will like orthodontist photos like move the needle for my company? You know, it would have been good money. They probably were good people, but I just didn't really want to. And then so because I said no to that, whenever I get asked a year later about this dentist, I'm like, well, I feel like I have to say no now, because like if they see that the photos, then, you know, but even still at the end of the day, I'm like really thinking about it like hard. It's easy to be like, yes, like you have like healthcare, you have money, like let's do this. But then I'm like, do I actually want to be photographing like a dentist? Probably not. Like, I don't want to be known for that. And that's okay if someone else does want to. There are other people who are better suited for that kind of work. And so I'll just refer a couple people and be like, hey, I'm really trying to prioritize XYZ right now. My schedule, I'm trying to keep it open for like my other commercial clients. So I'm not taking anyone new on right now. Here are 3 people I think that would do a great job. And I know I talk fast, sorry. I feel like I catch myself sometimes and I'm like, blah. But that's kind of how I handle it these days. And that's not to say I always forget to, and I'm wearing my button. Like my tagline is do what you want. And that's because I consistently do not do what I want. It's supposed to be like a reminder to me that like, it is my business. It's no one's business. If I wanted to take that job today and I want to take it tomorrow, like, and so I forget that because I feel I'm like very worried about like optics and like, oh my God, like they're going to see I did that and I told them no, but like no, they hate me. And I just have to remember like it literally is my business. If I wake up tomorrow and say I want to shoot weddings, I can do that. Probably not going to happen. But like I can make the rules. It's my own business. And so I have to remind myself that all the time. Like,
and then, you know, you take a great page out of a problem solver's book that is like you provide solutions, you know, you provide referrals. You don't just say like, no, I can't do it. Sorry.
Yeah.
You know, and so I think that goes a long way too. And it's something that, you know, we really fight with in our business as well. And really, I think any business owner does. And the thing I'm learning, you know, really going in on 4 years of Attract is, you know, having the confidence to say that, you know, hey, I'm just not that great at this. And then, you know, I think something else that's helped me is the fact that like, I'm not necessarily the one doing the work. And so I think about, how I'm setting my team up for failure, because if I commit to doing something that I don't know how to do and that they don't know how to do, then I'm kind of like, just hanging them out to dry, you know? And so, so saying no is something that I've really, really tried to practice. And going back to what you were saying about that dentist office, I'm really happy you decided to go with us. But it sounds like you were okay with it because you saw our branding and our website and stuff like that.
Well, and going back to the referral piece, if I refer 3 people for somebody, I hope that they know that that means that I really trust and respect those photographers to do a good job.
Yeah.
So Chad, who I know and trust and like, had told me, hey, they're really cool. I think you'll have a good time shooting with them. That holds a lot of weight with me because it's like, yeah, on its face, like I'm not necessarily trying to get into the industry of doing like CPA headshots.
Yeah.
Like I'm not. It might depend on the time of year if I have like, if it's slow, but if I'm like super busy, that's not like the top of my list of like fun things I want to do, just being honest. But same thing with like law firms and like different, I mean, like I've done stuff with realtors. Like I do a lot of that, but it's like usually because it's like I like the person or I know the people. I'm not like trying to specialize in that industry or necessarily get more of that kind of work. So specifically when Chad was telling me like, they're so cool. And then Kimber was like, we love like your colorful lighting. I was like, well, maybe they'll be open to doing something a little different. And y'all were. And I think that it makes me excited, but it also I think makes y'all stand out. So you don't just have the same photos that everyone has, you know? So yeah, it really, I think going back to, it's like a relationship, it's a people business. And it's like a lot of times I'm just going on someone's word about something. And that holds a lot of weight with me.
So you kind of talked about like hustling, you know, in college, coming out of college, you know, you mentioned now like you're engaged. And so what does the life cycle look like for you, like say of the next 5 years compared to the last 5 years?
I hate that question because I literally don't know. I've been seeing a business coach and she's always like, visualize 10 years from now. And I'm like, I'd rather kill myself. Like, I don't know what I'm doing tomorrow.
Yeah.
I mean, actually I do. I have to shoot a tailgate. But, you know, like it's really hard for me to visualize because this career is very unpredictable.
Yeah.
And like, I know the stuff I like to do, but I still don't know everything. I don't know what you don't know what you like until you try it. You don't know what you don't like till you do it. So who's to say in 5 years from now, I might not be doing something, specializing in something totally different that I just don't even know yet. I mean, it's really hard to say. I don't know. I do know that like every year that goes by and that I get a little bit better at saying no and that I get a little bit older and like wiser, I do think that the jobs that are meant for me are kind of like the other stuff's kind of falling away a little bit. And I think like with the marketing and the branding piece, I think people see my work now and they're like, well, I'm not going to ask her to do my wedding. I still get inquiries, even though it's like, I clearly don't do that.
Yeah.
But like, I think the more I put myself out there and really solidify my branding, it helps to train the customer too, to kind of know what they're going to get from me or what I will or won't do. So hopefully 5 more years of that, it'll be to the point where like I'm only photographing things that I absolutely love. And not to say that I hate everything I'm doing. That's not the case. But, you know, it's just like you're still trying, you're kissing frogs. You're trying to see what you like and don't like, and you just don't really know.
So one thing for me, like as my career's progressed, I used to be really focused on like pricing my stuff such that I felt like the client felt like they were getting a deal, or you know, I'll do this and I'll give them a discount or whatever. And the older I get, I guess maybe I've just proven to myself what I think my worth is, or what I think the Attract brand is worth. And so, can you talk about that? Like for you, you set your price. You know, when you give the price, it's not like you have a middle person who the client can argue with, and you know they want to try to negotiate and all of that. Yeah. Like, talk to me about your confidence in your pricing, and like what skills were you able to develop, and does it just go down to confidence?
Yeah, and it's hard because it goes back to that people pleasing piece. Yeah. Where I like if it's something I really want to do, I'm going to do it. Yeah. I might do it for free. Like concerts, like people don't even know that I wasn't getting paid. Like, but like the currency for me was my portfolio. So if I could use that for the next stepping stone for something in the future, like that's not like free to me. That's like building a portfolio. So pricing has always been sticky. It's not something that I think there's any right way to do. And especially in like my world, because it's like, it's a functional product. It's a commercially functional product, but it's also art. Yeah. And so, and your self-worth is tied up into that. If like, it's your baby, it's your art, it's your name on, you know, the LLC. And so it's really hard for me to separate that stuff sometimes. And like, it's like when Michael Scott says, like, what do you mean business isn't personal? It's the most personal thing. Like, that's how I feel. I'm like, you telling me I'm too expensive, you hate me. Like, I suck, you hate me. But like, whereas it should be like a flattering thing. Because if you went to like Chanel or something and you're like, I can't afford it, they're not going to be like, okay. You know, they're not going to be like, well, we'll actually give it to you for, like, it's like, that's desperate. And I come off as desperate a lot of times, I think, because I just am so like, I want to give people the deal. I want to make everyone happy. And if it's something I want to do, I want to work with them. But I found myself in a sticky situation where I was doing a lot of that for things I didn't want to do. And then I'm like, well, why am I like down, like discounting it when I already don't even want to do it. And it's not like I love the client and I don't love the work and I'm already getting paid half. I'm like, what am I doing? And you do that enough, you just like kind of wake up. You're like, wait, what I do is I'm not curing cancer. Photography is a luxury. It is like necessary to a lot of people in business, but it's not like, it's not necessary. So like, they don't have to have it. If they want it, they can pay for it. And like, they can go to someone really cheap or really expensive. It doesn't actually matter. Like, and I mean, there's people who are really good who don't charge enough, and there's people who are really bad who charge way too much. And so it's all kind of the Wild West. So I find that as long as I'm competitively priced, where I'm not like so out of the market here locally, I'm fine. But I mean, like if I move to a bigger city, like prices are different. But like, I mean, Baton Rouge is not LA, New York, Chicago, whatever. So like, you kind of just have to like get a sense of like, what are your peers charging? What feels right for you? And like, I feel like I'm finally at a place where like, I do feel confident in my pricing. Like, I don't think I'm too expensive. I don't think I'm too cheap. I'm just kind of like doing it. But I still get the comments like, oh, you're too cheap or you're too expensive. I hear it both ways. And I'm like, I literally don't know. Like,
what's worse for you? Hearing too cheap?
Too cheap. I don't know. It's like hearing you're too expensive. It like hurts my heart. But then I'm like, that should be a compliment. But like for some reason, I'm like, oh, they hate me. So hearing you're too cheap is also kind of like, well, am I leaving money on the table? Because like I work really hard. I am not rich. So it's like, but I've also been in the position where I've been working so much and still wasn't rich. So I'm like, well, I could work half as much and still not be rich. Like, I don't understand. Like, what's the difference?
Or you could double your price.
Exactly.
And see what happens.
But that makes I want to vomit, like thinking about that. So it's really hard. And because I don't have someone like kind of negotiating for me and all that, like I really think I could benefit from somebody doing that. But I do also like, I know all the nuances and the things. It's like, I know like, okay, I've worked with you before and I discounted it before and like we have a good relationship, or like we do trade. Like I do trade for like facials and like massages and all kinds of things. Like I just know all these things that someone, if I hired, may not. Yeah. Or I might be like, that person was terrible. I need to definitely like stick to my prices on that one because it's going to be a nightmare. And someone that you hire might not always know that unless they're with you for a long time. So it's hard because I'm not like a good negotiator. Like I'm not like, deal or no deal, like
Me either.
at all. And I'm like, yeah, sure. No worries.
Me
If
too.
not, like,
I think it's part of being, like you said earlier, it's the being a people pleaser.
yeah.
Like,
And it's still flattering to be like, wow, they want to hire me. Like I get stuck in that. Even after all this time, I'm like, oh my God, they want to hire me. So cool. Like, okay. And then I feel bad if like they can't afford it. And I'm like, oh, well, we'll just do it. But I don't want to be like that.
So is that something that you work on with your business coach, is like trying to separate like Jordan, the photographer, from Jordan, the admin and the office manager and stuff like that?
She tells me over and over again, and like everyone I talk to is like, you need to hire people. And the thing is, I don't want to. I like being a lone wolf.
Yeah.
I like what I do because I'm flexible and I know the ins and outs. That's like a double-edged sword though, because when I get really busy like that, I am the bottleneck because I am the one doing it all.
Yeah.
And I'm probably not best suited for a lot of the roles that I'm doing. I'm the photographer and editor, but like, I also think like in the business of people, I'm the one that's going to show up and do the thing. Like they probably want to be talking to me leading up to it too. Cause it's like, if I'm coming to your event or I'm coming into your house or they want to know that who is doing that. It's like someone they feel comfortable with. So I don't believe in like being behind like a wall of a bunch of people. Like I don't think I'm there yet. And I feel like there's like with the art world, there's like this like connotation of that feeling like kind of pretentious. I feel like in like other things, like a doctor has a nurse. That's not weird.
Yeah.
But like a photographer, like if I had like somebody, I'd feel like so pretentious. I'd be like, oh my God. So I've even had like an intern kind of help me out here and there on stuff, but I'm like, girl, I have nothing to give you. I don't know. I do everything. Like you can't be in my emails, you can't be in my QuickBooks, and you can't take the pictures for me, and you can't edit them. So I'm like, you can upload my client galleries, and like I had her do something blog posts, and I'm like, you can shadow me on shoots. I can connect you all day, but I don't know what work to give you. So it's hard for me to delegate. And that's what everyone tells me I should do. But I'm like, I'm not like necessarily trying to grow my business. I'm just trying to like do more of what I like for a price point that I can live comfortably on. That's really it.
Yeah. And I am like the opposite, because I'm trying to like
Scale.
Well, and optimize my time. Like I want to be like Drew Brees and Brandon
like
Landry
CEO.
and Todd Graves. And so like there's this book called Buy Back Your Time by Dan Martell.
I've heard of that one.
And essentially you take like what you earn in a year, and I think you divide it by 8. Like that's the shortcut to it. Because the idea is that if you could pay someone essentially 25% of what your time is worth to do it, then you got to outsource it. And so I have people in my email and QuickBooks and my bank accounts. Like I probably, give away too much. But then again, it's like where I'm at in my life with 3 daughters and then a son on the way, and, a wife who, needs my help. It's like, I've got to optimize it, even though I love doing the work sometimes. Like I was up till like 11 o'clock last night, like classifying P&Ls for rental properties.
That sounds terrible.
It's just like, it looks so nice when it comes out clean though. You know what I mean?
Well, there's a reason you're in this business. It's because you like doing it. But yeah, there is a point when it's time to scale, especially if you have like family and, other.
And like when I'm at work, there's this funny video my wife sent me, like, when I'm at work, I'm kind of the guy, like I'm the captain, like everybody's doing what I say. And then when I get home, I'm not. And so sometimes it's like, I kind of enjoy the work because I know what I'm doing. I've got more control. But at the same time, it's like, I have this very small window of my kids. Like I've read that, your kid at 7 is who they're going to be, for the rest of their life. And my oldest daughter is 6, and I'm just like so proud of all my daughters. But like when you were talking about eldest daughter, like I thought of my eldest, and I think that's part of the people pleasing, like trying to take care of everybody else underneath you and like leading the way. And so it's just so cool to see like different strokes for different people, as I like to say. That's a pun, or it's a fake pun, but I wonder how, like you said earlier, like you don't really know what the next 5 years looks like for you, but maybe that's it. Maybe you will have you'll have your own handlers. What about that?
I really think about too, like, I think I need more of like a personal assistant than like a business somebody. Cause I'm like, if you could go pick up my prescriptions and clean my house and like watch my dogs while I go do this thing, that would be I would cry. I would get on the floor and I would cry. I'd be so grateful. But like for business stuff, I'm like, no touchy, it's mine.
Yeah.
So I'm like, but so maybe there's other aspects of that. But I've talked about this with a lot of people. But I went to the Brew conference last year. They're not doing it anymore, but Nexus had the Baton Rouge Entrepreneur Week conference, and I actually photographed it. And I was like so burnout, like at the level where the only reason I was there was because they were paying me to be there, and I probably should have just attended, but I know I would have never put it in my schedule because I'm just like, I was booking every minute of every day. I was miserable. I was like at the end of like a 70-something day streak of like not having a day off. And I remember like this woman was speaking at the conference and I was just there shooting it, but I got to kind of, listen to everything too, which was great. And she is like the CEO of Pharrell Williams. Is his like, he's got this like nonprofit, and it's like for like Black entrepreneurs. I don't remember what it's called, but she was the CEO of that organization. And she came and spoke, which was kind of a big get. It was kind of cool. And she was talking about how as the CEO of that organization, her job is to go out and, shake hands and meet people and be in the room to secure like millions of dollars of donations for funding for like their scholarship program. And she was like, you may think that like if our front office worker was sick, like the company would save money if I just went and covered the thing real quick. But she's like, instead of, saving the company like $20 an hour, she's getting paid. We're costing the company like millions of dollars that I could be going out to get. And that like my brain, like I had never thought about it that way because I'm very like DIY. I do everything myself. I love I got this at Goodwill. I love like a deal, a find, like a creative like loophole. And so you think that you're like, I'm saving money because I'm being frugal. But in so many ways, like you're running yourself ragged and you're actually costing yourself money because you're doing all these things that you could just pay someone to do for like a couple $100s a week when like you could be I could go out and do like a commercial shoot that whole day and make a couple $1,000s. So it's like, it never occurred to me to think that way. I do still think I'm not there yet. Like there's been times in my life when I've been that busy and I was there, but my work is so inconsistent. It's so hard for me to know. Because like there's months where I'm making $1,000 and months where I'm making like $30,000. It really swings that much and I never know.
Yeah.
And so it's really hard for me to like budget and plan and like be consistent about anything because it's just like a wild roller coaster.
Yeah.
And even if I'm working every day in a month, I might not be getting paid from those jobs for like net 90 or something. So it's like I could work every day and still not have any dollars come in for the whole month because like everything I did hasn't been billed yet.
Right.
So it's just, and people don't get that. They see a number, they get sticker shock, whatever. They don't understand like anything I'm doing. It's like the time that I'm there, but it's also the time I'm at home editing.
Yeah.
So it's like double the hours that you see. And then like, just like the cost of like staying afloat and like basically moving money around all the time to just make it work because I'm always waiting on my paychecks. It's not like I get, a consistent paycheck. So her talking about that was really eye-opening for me. And I've not implemented anything, but it's like I think about it more now because like it's the concept of buying back your time.
Yeah. I mean, I'm no business coach, but I think you really should consider it. I think two things struck a chord from what you just said. The first is that, like my parents are the same way, like coupon clippers, like they love a deal. Like they'll do the Shell program where you save like 3 cents a gallon, and they like get mad at me when, like I used to have it or whatever. And they're like, you didn't do your card. Like when I was a teenager. And I was like, cause you got to put in your cell phone number. It's just a pain in the ass. And I'm like, I did the math one day. I said, look, if you, do 50 gallons, every month, let's say, because I'm not driving a lot, that's 3 cents. And I mean, I can't even do that math in my head, but it's like, it's like $3 a month.
Yeah.
Like the $3 a month, the $36 a year that like I can save in my head of like thinking about something else other than that. Like, where's my card? It adds up.
Because I used to have the same situation where like I drove a Beetle. I have a Beetle. I've had 3, but my first Beetle was diesel. And I knew every diesel Shell station between here and Westlake because I had a Shell card my parents gave me, and not everyone has diesel. But like sometimes driving to the next Shell station to find the right one outweighs the cost and the mileage for like the cents you were saving. It's like ridiculous, but like you get caught up in it. And my family too, it's very much like my mom will be like, I bought you 50 things from TJ Maxx. And I'm like, I bought like 1 Louis Vuitton purse. And like that's expensive and weird, but like I don't need 50. Like, it's just like,
Yeah, you can only use one at a time.
Different. It's just different. And I have the mentality, I swing back and forth. So I still love to thrift. I love a good hunt. I love a whatever, but sometimes time is money thing.
Time is money.
Especially for people like us that don't have like as much structure. Like no one's just like paying us. It's like what you do is how you, is your, what you give is what you get, basically. So if I'm, scrambling around trying to save $5, but I'm like costing myself like, who knows how much money from not being able to just shoot. It's hard. It's a hard thing to like come to terms with.
And then the second thing is like, so I actually just signed up for this earlier this week. There's a service in town called like Simple Living Concierge. And it's this lady named Bree Boudreaux. She's married to Dr. Tyler Boudreaux, who's my doctor. And like he and I grew up together. And basically it's like 8-hour minimum per month. You got to commit for like 6 months. And I hope they don't change the prices, but the price they gave me was $50 an hour. So like, they'll go, like, for instance, my wife can't stand the grocery store, can't stand doing Instacart because they always pick the wrong produce and it's moldy when we get it and yada, yada. So, like, we're training our concierge to, like, pick what we want. They'll, like, put our clothes away. They'll organize. They'll, just do all the little things for us, run back Amazon returns. And like, it took my wife forever to like commit to doing that. But like, we have the baby on the way. It's like, we're just trying to like systemize our life. So in terms of a personal assistant, you can get a fractional one. It's like $400 a month.
Yeah. I had a house cleaner come like 3 times and it was the most amazing thing. And my fiance is like, we don't have money for that. I'm like, cleaning is my role. So like, it doesn't affect you anyways. But if it takes me 5 hours on a Saturday to do it, a third of as good as she could, and like, I'm miserable because my back hurts because I've been leaning over the bathtub and it doesn't even look any better. And it's just going to get dirty again in 3 days. And like the dog hair, da, da, da. And I paid her and it was like, I think $200 for the first time or something like that, plus a tip. And I was like, she did it in an hour.
Yeah.
It's why. And I come home and like my Kleenexes are folded in accordions and I have little like origami things in the toilet paper. And I'm like, this is so nice. And it smells wonderful. And he's like, we don't have money for that. And I'm like, hush, like, I'm just gonna be paying for it myself because I'm the one that would have to do it. Like his thing is he cooks, I clean. I don't cook, but like he doesn't know that I won't be cleaning. She'll be cleaning.
Exactly.
I'll get back in the swing of it.
Yeah, you're outsourcing it.
Yeah.
And I think I think too, like for me, in coaching and mentors have helped me really figure this thing out. But like every couple of years, I'll really reassess my pricing. And like I used to really be afraid. Like again, I wanted to be lower than what these bigger firms are doing, and I'm not like, I hope I'm not coming off as overly arrogant, but I'm starting to get to their level, and my pricing's reflecting it. And I can tell that because their clients are coming over, say to us. And so like, it's important for us as entrepreneurs to remember that like, we're 3 years better than we were 3 years ago. And oh, by the way, we probably work double time. So we're really 6 years better.
Yeah.
And your pricing in my mind should reflect it. So I think that's what's so cool about the progress and the journey of what it is that we do, as business owners, because, you're about to start charging prices that like back then, like you would have never even thought about sliding across the table.
Yeah. But I'm just big on like having to justify everything in my head and to everybody. It's the people pleaser. But like, if I really do break it down and like I do the math on like what I'm doing, I'm like, I'm still like, that's like regular pricing. Like, it's just regular. Like, I mean, everyone else gets off work at 5 o'clock and can go do whatever. And like, not to be like, woe is me. Like I chose this life and I do it to myself, but like, I'm working so much more than the average person that like the money, it just comes out in the wash because also like, once again, on paper, it's one thing, but like I only keep a third of what I'm actually making because of the employment taxes and expenses and everything. And I'm just one person. So everything, like whereas somebody else may have like these programs or like whatever, like their company's paying for that. Like I have to pay for the full membership fee to have like all of the Adobe programs and the internet and the whatever, and like lighting. And I mean, each camera, like I'm walking around with 20 grand at any given time. Like it's crazy. And so I think people forget that part too. They're just like, wow, like you must be balling. And I'm like, I'm literally not. I don't have a dishwasher like at my house. Like, like, and I mean, I also don't have kids and I'm not like, I don't own property. I'm just renting. But like, so there's different, everyone's in a different predicament, but I don't have any debt really. Like, so it's always changing, but it's just hard. And I think people forget because they just see like the price and they don't think about what actually goes into it. not to mention like my product is me doing it.
Yeah.
So like there's like a limit to how much I can physically do. I used to not think that there was a limit until I met it. You know, I had like neck surgery and I've had multiple health scares over the years with my neck and my back pain. And like as a photographer, I've learned I can only do so many of this in a week before like my back is thrown out, and then I really can't do it, and then I'm screwed. So trying to just be better about protecting future Jordan has been like the journey.
That's so good.
Instead of retroactive.
Yeah. So like, as we kind of wrap this thing up, like, you know, we're talking about future Jordan and kind of where you come from. Like, when you look at where you've come from, like, what's your level of like pride? And like, I mean, would the 18-year-old look at you and say like, I'm so freaking proud of you. Like, you did an amazing job.
I always think about that because I'll spiral and like catch myself like going through like my Instagram page or something. Like if I just did like a big cool opportunity, a cool shoot, and like I met somebody new and they followed me, I'm always like, oh my God, what does this look like through their eyes? Because I'm like over here doing TikTok dances or whatever, being stupid. But also like my work is on there too. And I'm always like constantly like comparing myself to like other people and rethinking about like how I must look to them. Like I'm projecting like assumptions. But then I have to remind myself, like, okay, imagine if I was 18 years old looking at my stuff. And I'm like, oh, she's so cool. Like, this is great. It's everything I ever wanted. So I have to really remind myself that to ground myself, because I'll get, like, caught up in, like, well, this other photographer, they only had to post, like, 100 times, and they have, like, 20,000 followers. And I had to post 4,000 times over 10 years, and I only have this many. Or, like, this person got this job, and, like, whatever. It's just, I get very like comparative, especially it's hard not to on social media because I have to be on it. Like I would love to just not be, but like it's the name of the game.
Same.
And also I enjoy it in a lot of ways too. I enjoy creating content and sharing my work, but I hate that. I don't know. It's just like, it's scary to put it out there. And then you have to kind of like forget and like dissociate. But if I remind myself, like if I was, 12 years old looking at this, like I would think she's so cool. It's like everything I always said I wanted to do, and I'm doing it. But it's still hard to like distance yourself from it and not get too in your head.
Yeah. Well, I think if I knew you when you were 12 or 18 and I looked at your work, I'd be like, man, that is so badass. And so,
thank you.
I'm just, again, I said this, I think on the last podcast, but it's like, this has been such an amazing opportunity for us to grow the brand and to highlight, other people's brands. But like for me personally, like just to talk with other like-minded, like entrepreneurs, like it's been really awesome. So I just want to honor you for being here. And
thank you.
And thank you so much for your time, because I know it's valuable.
Yeah, thank you so much. Super fun. And I love that y'all do this too. I think it's a no-brainer for businesses to do this, because it gets them like acquainted with other people in the community. It's good, like you said, branding for you. It's basically like low lift advertising, and it's actually just like personally interesting to like meet people and get to know them more. So
awesome.
Yeah.
Well, thanks so much, Jordan.
Thank you so much.
All right.